Hey kiddos, we are going to get started on our first video together. If you could make sure you have your angle relationships packet, handout 1, and don't worry that says you're going to need a protractor. I'm going to use a protractor and I will tell you the measurements that you're going to need, and you only need it for this very first example, so that's why it's not important that you need it, okay? So what we're going to do is we're now going to talk about parallel lines and this fancy word called a transversal, which just means a line that cuts through two parallel lines, okay? So in the picture below, X and Y are parallel lines, and line T is a transversal. Transversal means a line that intersects them. And so now we're going to use a protractor to measure each of the 8 angles that were formed. And you don't need one. I'm just going to do it. So when I use a protractor, I line up my zeros with the line, and then I'm going to put the angle right through that center dot. And you will notice that you can see the line through here. So that means this angle that's inside here, angle F, that guy is 60 degrees. So angle F is 60 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Angle B is also 60 degrees. Now I'm going to measure angle A. So 0, angle A is over here. That guy is measuring 120 degrees. This guy, angle E, is also measuring 120 degrees. Now I'm going to flip my protractor around, do the same thing for the bottom angles. Angle D is measuring 60 degrees. Angle C is measuring 120 degrees. This guy is measuring 60, and this one is measuring 120. So now that we have all these angles measured, our first question says, what do you notice about the angle measures? So what do we notice about all these guys? 120 and 60, 120 and 60, 120 and 60. You should notice that angles next to each other add up to 180 degrees. What else do you notice? You should also notice that there are only 2 angle measurements. Yep, there's only 2 in the whole thing. There's only 60 and 120 out of the whole thing. 60 and 120, all of them. So those 2 things. All right, the next thing says label the inside of the parallel lines interior and label the outside of the parallel lines exterior. So if we're looking at this, here's my parallel lines. Where is the inside? Well, that would be in here, interior. And this would be the exterior. Exterior. All right. Now let's go down to we have a couple different relationships that we're going to talk about. Vertical angles is our first one. And vertical angles are pairs of opposites. Pairs of opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. Pairs of opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. There are two sets of examples up here. So let's find pairs of opposites formed by intersecting lines. So an example of that would be A and C. Notice how they are opposite of each other, formed by intersecting lines. So angle A and angle C would be an example of that. There's lots of examples of that on here. There's actually 4. Another one would be, let's go with F and G, angle F, angle G, F and G. That would be another example of vertical angles. Relationship. Let's see. They are congruent. Congruent, remember that means same size, same shape. Congruent. All right, straight angles. Straight angles are angles that form a straight line and add up to, well, what does a line add up to? Look at this guy right here. What does a line add up to? 180 degrees, also called supplementary. So there's quite a few examples of here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different examples of that on this page. So one of them, we'll use the one that I circled. That would be angle E, angle F, and their relationship is supplementary. Supplementary. If you heard that on my video, that would be my 6-year-old. Good job, Nick. You just announced to the world. All right, so the next angle pair that we're going to talk about is alternate interior angles. And those would be angles that are on the inside of the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So inside the parallel lines, that means it has to happen in here, opposite sides of the transversal. So where do you notice that? Inside here, opposite sides of the transversal. There's only 2 options, and that would be angle E and angle C. Or angle D and angle F. Those guys are also congruent. All right, alternate exterior angles are going to be angles on the outside. Angles on the outside. the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So, like angle G and angle T. And angle G and angle T are both 60 degrees, which makes them congruent. Do you see another set that would be alternate exterior? Yep, angle A and angle H. Those are both 120, so those are also congruent. All right, corresponding angles. Angles in the same relative position. Angles in matching corners. Matching corners, meaning they're in generally the same spot. So an example of that would be angle A. Let me erase that. Okay, so corresponding angles are in the same relative position. So if we're looking at line Y and line X, notice how angle A and angle E are both on top of the line to the left of the transversal. Angle A, angle E. What's another pair do you see that's a corresponding angle? So in the same spot with their line, in the same side of the transversal. For example, angle B and angle F. And what did you notice about their relationship? 120, 120, 60, 60. They are congruent. All right, we are going to flip the page over now.